70% water and 30% land, but the entire sky belongs to us.
It is sleek, deadly, and built to dominate the skies. Meet the F-47, America's brand new 6th-generation stealth fighter.
At my direction, the United States Air Force is moving forward with the world's first 6th-generation fighter. The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built.
This $300 million jet almost never made it off the drawing board. But now, it's real. Boeing's got the green light, and the future of air combat is about to change forever. Today, we'll break down what makes it special, how much it will cost, and what it means for the future. Inside the birth of the F-47. Some things change everything, and sometimes the real game changers aren't loud or flashy at first. They start quietly, shaping the future piece by piece. The Boeing F-47 is set to become the United States Air Force's next big move in air dominance. It is being developed under something called the Next Generation Air Dominance Program, or NGAD for short. But the road to getting here didn't happen overnight. If you rewind to the early 2010s, that's when the real work started. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, decided it was time to think ahead. In 2014, they kicked off a study to figure out how America could stay ahead in the skies. They realized that just building a powerful new fighter jet wasn't going to cut it anymore. Instead, they pushed for something bigger, a family of systems, not just in the air, but across space and cyberspace too. It wasn't just about fighter jets, it was about controlling everything, everywhere. Air superiority means that your planes can fly safely without worrying too much about enemy aircraft or surface-to-air missiles. And while the United States had enjoyed that edge for a long time, it was starting to slip away. Countries like China were building more and more advanced weapons, including 2 types of stealth fighters. On top of that, missile defenses were getting stronger and harder to get through. So DARPA's findings changed the game plan. The Air Force picked up the ball and ran with it. They launched their own study called Air Superiority 2030. This laid down the plans for NGAD. The idea wasn't just to build another fighter jet, it was to create a hybrid fleet, a mix of crewed planes and drones working together. It sounded like science fiction at the time. And here is where it gets even more interesting. NGAD wasn't just any regular project. It became one of the Air Force's most secret and highly classified programs. Information about it was hard to come by. Almost no one outside the program even knew what was really going on. Then came a surprise. In September 2020, Will Roper, who was then the Air Force Acquisition Chief, dropped a bombshell. He confirmed publicly that the Air Force had already test-flown a prototype of the next-generation fighter. It was the first real proof that NGAD wasn't just some plan on paper. It was real, it was flying, and it was moving faster than anyone had expected. But even with that news, so many questions remained. What would the plane look like? What kind of weapons would it carry? Would it even look anything like the fighter jets people were used to seeing? As the months rolled on, by 2023, it became clear that a few major players were racing to win the contract. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman were all showing off potential designs in their marketing materials. Even though none of them officially said, "This is NGAD," people reading between the lines could tell. It is a common move in the defense world. Drop some hints without actually giving away any secrets. Northrop Grumman, the same company that built the B-2 Spirit and was working on the B-21 Raider stealth bombers, had thrown their hat into the ring too. But in 2023, Northrop Grumman decided to drop out of the competition to be the main developer. Instead, they chose to step back and offer support to the other companies as a supplier. It was a big move and one that surprised a lot of people watching closely. So, it was down to Boeing and Lockheed Martin. Both companies had serious history and serious skills. But the decision would come down to more than just reputation. It had to be about who could deliver the best platform for the future. Then came the big announcement that turned all the rumors into reality. In March 2025, President Donald Trump revealed that Boeing had been selected to develop America's next combat aircraft. And that aircraft had a new name, the F-47. At first, the name confused a lot of people. In normal Air Force tradition, a new fighter would get a number following the F-Series line, like F-22, F-35, and so on. But F-47? That number had already been used a long time ago for the P-47 Thunderbolt, a fighter from World War II. Turns out the choice wasn't random at all. The F-47 designation was packed with meaning. It nodded to the P-47, which was one of the toughest and most respected escort fighters during World War II. It also pointed back to 1947, the year the United States Air Force officially became its own branch of the military. And finally, it honored the 47th President, Donald Trump, whose administration played a key role in getting the project off the ground. Every piece of it was chosen for a reason. The decision marked a new chapter not just for Boeing, but for the entire future of American air power. As the Air Force moves into an era where battles could be fought across air, space, and cyber domains all at once, the F-47 will be right at the center of it. More than a jet. Every new fighter is built for a reason, but the F-47's mission is bigger than anything we've seen before. The first thing you should know about the F-47 is what it's stepping into. It is meant to replace the F-22 Raptor, a fighter that has been America's top choice for air superiority for years. The F-22 shares the skies with the F-35, another stealth fighter, but the F-35 leans heavily into attacking targets on the ground rather than winning dogfights in the air. The plan is for the new F-47s to team up with AI-piloted drones, creating a powerful strike force. Their job would be to clear the skies of enemy aircraft, while the F-35s focus on taking out enemy air defenses on the ground. At the same time, B-21 stealth bombers would be flying even deeper, hitting the toughest and most valuable targets hidden far inside enemy borders. Because of this mission, the F-47 isn't just facing yesterday's threats. It is being built to battle the most advanced enemy jets that will exist in the decades to come. That includes China's J-20, the upcoming J-35, and whatever new designs come out of China's J-36 and other secret stealth programs already in the works. To win against fighters like those, the Air Force knows it needs more than just speed and firepower. The F-47 will need to be almost invisible. That is why they are demanding improvements in what's called all-aspect stealth, which will make the jet hard to spot from every direction, not just head-on. And how exactly are they planning to pull that off? The answers might surprise you. Secrets, stealth, and the future of flight. Some jets are built to survive the future, but the F-47 looks like it's being shaped to control it. As more secrets slowly come out, one thing's becoming clear. This fighter is designed to play by a whole new set of rules. The F-47, the rising star of the 6th-generation next-generation air dominance program, is still a mystery in many ways. There is a lot we don't know yet. In fact, right now, there are more questions swirling around it than answers. But the early signs, including the first few images and design hints, are giving experts a lot to talk about. One of the biggest surprises are the canards. On the early Boeing renderings, you can spot two small semicircular canards sticking out from each side of the fuselage. They sit ahead of the jet's main wings, almost like little arms reaching forward. And once people noticed them, the debates and theories took off fast. Canards, for those who don't know, aren't just random decorations. They have a real aerodynamic purpose. But with the F-47, they raise a lot of important questions. What exactly are they trying to achieve with them? Are there hidden trade-offs? Could they slow the jet down or make it easier for radar systems to spot? When you break it down, canards are mainly about control. They create extra lift at the front of the aircraft, helping to guide the flow of air along the body. Scientists and engineers say this added lift improves stability and lets a jet move more sharply at slower speeds. That could be a huge advantage in a tight dogfight. But there is a catch. Normally, sticking anything extra onto a fighter jet, like canards, risks increasing drag. More drag can mean slower top speeds. It can also make the aircraft more visible to enemy radar, which is a serious problem for a plane that's built to be stealthy. At first glance, it's surprising to even see canards on something like the F-47. If you look at the F-22 Raptor or the F-35 Lightning II, they don't have them. Russia's Su-57 doesn't either. China's newer J-35 stealth fighter? No canards there. But then you notice something important. China's older 5th-generation stealth fighter, the J-20, actually does have canards. And not just small ones either. Big, noticeable ones. And that's where things get really interesting. The J-20's large canards definitely affect how it flies, but they also increase its radar signature. Big, protruding surfaces bounce radar waves back toward enemy sensors. That's the opposite of what you want when you're trying to stay invisible. So when people saw Boeing's design for the F-47 with canards, a lot of heads turned. But here is the key difference. The canards on the F-47, at least from what's been shown so far, are much smaller than the ones on the J-20. They are tighter to the body, shaped differently, and clearly built with stealth in mind. That detail alone tells you a lot about what Boeing's engineers might be up to. They seem to be walking a razor-thin line, adding just enough surface area to give the jet better control, without making it easier to detect. It is a balancing act that hasn't really been pulled off successfully before. And it raises an even bigger question. Are the canards a clue about how the F-47 will fight? You see, the frame of the F-47 looks different from anything flying today. It doesn't seem to have the traditional vertical fins or tails that most fighters use to help steer and stabilize during high-speed maneuvers. Normally, fins and tails are critical for turning quickly or adjusting flight paths at supersonic speeds, but they also stick up into the airflow and create radar reflections. Getting rid of them would make a plane much harder to detect, but only if you can find another way to stay stable and agile. And that's where those small canards come back into the picture. By adding just enough extra lift and control at the front of the jet, Boeing's engineers might have solved the puzzle. They could be giving the F-47 the ability to twist and turn in the air without needing big vertical surfaces. That would mean a fighter that's both incredibly stealthy and incredibly maneuverable, something no other jet in the world has fully achieved yet. This idea fits perfectly with what the Air Force needs. In a future war, F-47s will be tasked with clearing the skies of enemy fighters. That won't just mean flying fast in straight lines. It will mean twisting, climbing, diving, and turning sharper than the enemy can react. It will mean fighting at the edge of control, using speed, stealth, and agility together. And if the F-47 can pull that off, it could change air combat forever. But here's the thing. Nothing about this is confirmed yet. Boeing's designs could still change. The real jet could end up looking quite different from the early renderings. And it leaves us with a big question. If the F-47's canards are just the beginning, what other secrets are still hiding under the radar? The F-47's high-tech advantage. Imagine a jet that can see farther, carry more, and move faster, all without needing to shout through the sky. That's what the F-47 is shaping up to be. And it's not just about flying. It's about doing it smarter, farther, and with a lot more muscle behind the controls. One of the biggest changes comes from what's inside the jet, its brain, so to speak. The F-47 is expected to carry an advanced set of avionics, including a radar system that's a major step up from what we've seen so far. Even the F-35's powerful ANAPG-81, one of the top radar arrays in use today, could fall behind. So, what's different? The new radar will likely use gallium nitride transmit and receive modules. That may sound technical, but here is what it means. This material boosts radar power and clarity. It lets the system track objects farther away with sharper detail. In simple terms, the F-47 will probably be able to spot threats first and fire first too. That edge could decide who wins and who doesn't walk away. But the radar's only part of the story. The F-47 will also have to travel farther than earlier fighters. Take the F-22 Raptor, for example. It has a combat radius under 700 miles without external tanks. That's not enough when missions stretch across huge regions like the Pacific. The F-47, on the other hand, is being built with that kind of range in mind. That means bigger fuel tanks, more efficient engines, and a design that lets it carry extra without needing help from tankers mid-flight. And then there is firepower. The Air Force wants the F-47 to carry more weapons than the Raptor. The F-22 can haul 6 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders inside. The F-47 is expected to carry even more, all internally. That keeps it stealthy while giving it a serious punch. Naturally, a fighter this big might seem slower, but that's not the case here. Even with its larger frame, the F-47 is expected to fly fast. President Trump mentioned that this jet would go beyond Mach 2. That's over 1,500 miles per hour. Getting that kind of speed without sacrificing fuel or stealth isn't easy, but new engine tech might make it possible. More than $7 billion has already been poured into something called adaptive cycle engines. These engines adjust themselves mid-flight, switching between power and efficiency depending on what is needed. It's like having a sports car that also drives like a hybrid. When you need speed, it's there. When you need distance, it delivers. And that's where another key feature comes in: supercruise. This means the F-47 could fly faster than the speed of sound without needing to use afterburners. Most fighters burn tons of fuel to hit supersonic speeds. If the F-47 can skip the afterburners, it can stay fast and stealthy for longer stretches of time. Now, all this new tech, radar, engines, payload, speed, it sounds almost too good to be real. But that's what makes this fighter so fascinating. The Air Force isn't just asking for small improvements. They are aiming for something that changes the whole game. The hidden costs of building the F-47. The F-47 isn't just about stealth and speed. There is something even bigger at play: money, and lots of it. But the numbers don't tell the full story. Not yet. Right now, the Next Generation Air Dominance program is the biggest and most expensive line in the Air Force's research and development budget. For the upcoming years, they've set aside nearly $19.6 billion, and that's just for the next 5 years. That number is likely to grow as the program moves forward. The Engineering and Manufacturing Development Phase, also known as the EMD contract, was handed to Boeing. That alone could be worth over 20 billion euros, but that's just one part of it. The full cost of buying and building all the aircraft could end up in the hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's meant to stretch over many years. Now, before this deal was officially announced, people were already guessing how much each F-47 would cost. Most believed it would be somewhere around $300 million per jet. But that's where it gets a little secretive. During the announcement, Trump said they couldn't reveal the price, not because of money concerns, but because it might give away clues about the plane's design or even its technology. So for now, the exact number stays under wraps. But there is still a hint about the price. General David Alvin, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, gave a little insight during the official announcement. He said the F-47 would cost less than the F-22. Not only that, but there would also be more F-47s than there were Raptors in the fleet. That's a major clue. Let's back up a bit. The F-22's price tag was already high. Just the flyaway cost, which covers only the materials and assembly for one aircraft, was about $140 million. But that didn't include all the other expenses like research and testing, facility construction, and program planning. Once all of that was added in, the total cost per F-22 came out to about $350 million. One of the reasons it was so expensive was because the Air Force planned to build more than 400 F-47s. That would have helped spread the cost out over time. But the final number of Raptors that actually got built were only 195, and after a few were lost over the years, the number dropped even more. So now with the F-47, they are trying to avoid that same mistake. The new plan aims to build more jets right from the start, and with a larger production run, the overall cost per plane could come down. Some experts even believe it might drop to the same price range as the first F-35s. That would be a major shift in cost and production strategy. Another interesting part is the fleet size. According to Alvin, the Air Force plans to have more F-47s in service than they ever had F-22s. That's a big deal. While the F-22 program was cut short, the NGAD program seems to be aiming for higher numbers. The first official number tossed around 200 manned fighters. That would already be more than the total number of F-22s that made it to service. But even that 200 could just be the beginning. As the need for advanced air superiority grows, especially with rival countries working on their own 6th-gen jets, the F-47 fleet could grow even more. And with that growth comes more pressure to keep the price reasonable. Still, we are left with one big question. If they are planning to build more jets, and each one might cost less than the F-22, what exactly are they trading off? Is the F-47 simpler in some ways? Or have engineers found smarter, cheaper ways to build cutting-edge tech? That's something we may not fully know for years. But one thing's clear, this isn't just a fighter. It's part of a much larger plan, one that's moving fast, and what comes next could shift the balance of air power for decades to come. The fight to launch the F-47. They say it is too soon to know the full plan, but if you look close enough, the signs are already there. The F-47 might be closer than anyone expected, and behind those closed hangar doors, something big is taking shape. Really big. President Trump recently revealed something that caught a lot of attention. He said much of the production work for the F-47 is already done. According to him, they have already built most of what is needed, including the sheds. That comment seemed to point at a major step forward. It lines up with Boeing's $1.8 billion investment into a brand new manufacturing center. It's a massive facility, 1.1 million square feet, designed for making advanced combat aircraft. Boeing hasn't said much beyond that, but it's expected to be ready by 2026. That's not too far off. Now, Trump didn't stop there. He even mentioned that he's hopeful the F-47 will be in full production and maybe even fielded before the end of his term. That would be by 2029. It is a bold goal. Some might call it optimistic. But interestingly, the Air Force already had plans for the F-47 to be operational in the 2030s. So Trump's hope to push that date a little earlier might not be as far-fetched as it sounds. Then came another big point. Trump said that allies around the world are calling constantly and asking about the F-47. He even talked about offering toned-down versions for export. That is a pretty big shift from what we have seen before. The F-22, which the F-47 is expected to replace, never made it outside the United States. The reason for this is that it had some of the most sensitive technology ever put in a fighter jet. Even a downgraded version was off-limits. But it sounds like the rules might be different this time around. There is also competition heating up. In late 2024, China rolled out 2 new aircraft designs. They are still being tested, but some Chinese sources are already calling one of them the world's first 6th-generation fighter. The United States doesn't agree. In fact, American officials are pushing back hard. One top official stated that the F-47 is the real deal, the world's first manned 6th-gen fighter. According to him, it is built to win against top-tier threats and handle the most dangerous skies on Earth. But not everyone is convinced. Some critics have doubts about how the F-47 program is being run, and a lot of that concern centers on Boeing. They are the main contractor, and their recent track record has raised eyebrows. Some people think the F-47 could end up being the most expensive fighter ever made. Others worry it will fall behind schedule or miss important performance goals. The loudest critics say delays could actually help Boeing, because the longer it takes, the more money flows into the program. That's the kind of thing that frustrates taxpayers and worries military planners. So where does that leave us? Right now, the F-47 program is moving forward fast. Some parts of it are already being built. World leaders are taking interest, and other countries are racing to show off their own designs. But the truth is, we don't know yet how it will all turn out. There is a lot riding on this plane, more than just its price or its speed. It is about whether it can live up to everything that's been promised and whether it can stay ahead of the rising global competition. One thing's for sure, something is happening behind the scenes, and by the time the world sees it in action, it might already be rewriting the rules. But the big question remains, will the F-47 deliver what everyone is hoping for, or will it run into the same problems that have grounded big promises before?